Hello and welcome to Angela's Busy Bees Garden and Homestead. And today I would like to share with you how I store my herbs and how I dry them. And I'll also be sharing with you what not to do when drying your herbs so that you'll have a successful storage of your herbs, because you know how hard it is to grow your herbs and be able to harvest them, and you want to store them so that you'll have months or even perhaps a couple of years of herbs on hand for when you need them. And everything that you see here on this table are items that can be purchased from the Dollar Tree or the dollar store. But one thing that you'll definitely need to have on hand are these brown paper bags. You're going to need paper towels, and you're going to need some storage jars or containers for your dried herbs. And as you can see here, I have some sage, I have oregano, I have some rosemary there in the back, and I have some thyme. And I've also sharing with you the jars that I'm using, and these jars were purchased from the Dollar Tree for $1. And I tried to get all of the same type, but when you don't get enough and you go back the second time, it's whatever they have available. And some of them look a little different, but they all serve the same purpose. What you want to do is when you first harvest your herbs, you want to rinse them off in water to try to get any dirt or debris off of them. And then you want to wrap them up in a paper towel to absorb all of the moisture. You do not want to leave them wet at all. In fact, I usually discard the first couple of paper towels, and then I wrap them up again, and I spread them out all over the tray so that they can air dry. But I also place a paper towel over it, and the next day I come again and remove the paper towel, move them about, turn them over, try to get all the moisture off. And that takes about maybe a day and a half to 2 days for them to be fully dry. You don't want there to be any moisture, because if you do, they will look like this. And so this is one that you cannot dry. I'll have to throw it away. But as you can see here, these are fully dried, and they are ready now to be stored. And what I'm going to do is simply place them in a brown paper bag. And then once I've done that, I usually go on and label with a Sharpie the date that I place it in the bag and what the contents are. And I place them in a cool place that doesn't get a whole lot of sunlight. But the paper bags allow them to air dry. And as you can see here, for this rosemary here, I placed it in a bag on April 3rd. And as you can see inside the bag, it is already dried. Let me see if I can get you inside of the bag. And if you look at it, it's completely dried, and I can just simply crush it up with my fingers like that. I can also take my herb chopper and chop it up very fine and thin. It's kind of hard for me to show you inside of the bag, but everything stays in the bag. And when I'm ready, to pour them in my storage container, I just make the bag as a funnel and pour it inside of the bag. Or I'll put it in a bowl to chop it up finer and then transfer it to my storage container. Now here on the table is some parsley that I allowed to stay wet too long and without keeping it dry. And parsley is very funny. Basil is also a very funny herb that you have to be very careful with excess moisture, and also keep them wrapped in the paper towel and not exposed to too much air. They will turn yellow, as you see here. So this is from experience of drying herbs about moisture. You want to make sure that they're fully dry before you place them in the bag. And so as you can see here, I've been harvesting and collecting herbs over time. I've got oregano here, rosemary. My parsley is getting low on me, so I need to harvest some more parsley. Here's thyme, and this is going to be my first time collecting thyme, so this is a brand new jar. I've also been harvesting some moringa, basil, spearmint, lemon balm, and for the first time this year, I'll be harvesting peppermint. And so this has been a wonderful way um, to dry my herbs. I have a dehydrator that I purchased a couple of years ago from a yard sale for about $5, but it makes a lot of noise and it has to run for a long period of time. But I find that this method that I learned from the New Orleans gardener, Miss Linda, I find that the paper bag method works beautifully. It takes time. It takes about 3 weeks total inside of the paper bag for them to fully dry. But once they're dry, they store very well. And as you can see here, I'm low on parsley. But if you look inside, it looks beautiful. It's a beautiful green color. And this is the way it should look as opposed to that yellow that I showed you from too much moisture. And so I'm looking forward to getting these all stored up. And once I fill these jars up, it takes me quite a while to really use it. So this is why I'm able to also sell dry herbs, because you have to keep harvesting your herbs in order for them to continue to grow. If not, they'll go to seed quickly. And so I've been able now to start putting aside herbs also to sell in little storage containers. Now the sage, this is my number one herb that I use a lot of, and as you can see, it's empty because I use sage in making cornbread dressing. I use sage in my gumbo, and I make huge pots of seafood gumbo or chicken and sausage gumbo, and I use a lot of the sage, and so that's why I'm completely out of sage. And this year I think I have about 4 more sage plants that I've added to the garden because I find that I use it a lot. And then over here I'm growing some of the thyme for the first time because I find that I love using thyme in a lot of soups and recipes that are more or less like soups. I use a lot of the thyme. And of course the oregano and basil I use a lot in my Italian dishes. But just want to come on and show you how I store my herbs, and also to let you know that this process was learned from Miss Linda, the New Orleans gardener. I love her absolutely. A wonderful person, very positive attitude, always smiling. If you have not checked out Miss Linda, please go to her channel. She's the New Orleans gardener. And just want to say thank you once again for your time. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.